Germans being the ones that have stopped lethal aid from coming through NATO channels. And then, of course, the United States is not getting that lethal aid that's necessary there. So there's things that could have happened earlier on so that we would never get here. This didn't have to happen. And so the senator's words just, they just have empty meaning here, Griff.
In Ukraine, not the only hot spot right now. China, as you write, Gordon, very aggressive, turning Taiwan one of many hotspot issues. Let me just show you President's approval rating on foreign policy. 35% approve, 54% disapprove currently. Gordon, what grade would you give President Biden handling the foreign affairs issues?
It's got to be below a C. And the reason is that Biden is not deterring the Russias and Chinas of the world. We have a situation which looks very much like 1937, where it was obvious what the Germans were going to do, and Britain and France were in a position to stop the Third Reich, but through feeble policies, they decided not to do so. They allowed the situation in Europe to drift to war. Well, we got the same thing in Asia, and of course we have the same thing in Ukraine, and unfortunately, this is the process where we end up in a global conflict, because once the Russians do something, the Chinese will do something, the North Koreans, the Iranians, the Pakistanis, and so we could end up in a global conflict.
Below a C, that's a C minus. We're out of time, but quickly, Dan, what grade would you give the president?
Oh, boy, I'm not in the habit of giving out too many grades, but look, the Biden administration is facing a dizzying array of wickedly complex threats to our national security, including, I would add, the one with the shortest fuse, which is terrorism, and it's only gotten worse after our chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. The question is whether the Biden administration has the bandwidth to deal with all of these threats at the same time, and right now I think there's concern about whether they do.
We gotta leave it there, Rebecca. One word answer, you give it a grade?
F's all the way down, Griff.
F's all the way down. Gordon, Chang, Dan Hoff, and Rebecca Heinrichs, thank you very much for taking time on this Tuesday. Todd?
Hi, Winter Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. Deadly attacks over the last week.
Yes, a UCLA student is stabbed to death while working alone in a high-end furniture store, while a 70-year-old nurse dies after being attacked at a bus stop. Elizabeth Heng, California congressional candidate, joins us now. Elizabeth, thank you for getting up early. Your reaction to this tragic news?
It was absolutely devastating that how the crime continues to increase in our communities. Every high concentration of crime right now is in places where Democrats control most, if not all, of the levers of power. And how long will we continue to give these same dangerous and radical policies before we stand up for the average American who's the victim of this violence and crime that we just saw transpire?
I know I had some trouble going to bed last night thinking of this father of this slain UCLA girl. I've had trouble thinking about it. It really hurt me because I'm thinking about my little girl, and God forbid something like that happened, my world would be shattered. And I thought the father had an interesting analysis of what happened. He writes, quote, "Crime is truly spiking. We have a lot of criminals on the streets that shouldn't be out. We can't afford to have the good constantly knocked down by the bad." Why have blue states, Elizabeth, focus so much on protecting the bad, but not the good?
And this is absolutely heartbreaking, as for me too, while I was reading this story, that a family should not have to go through this. But we continue to see this time and time again with the liberal policies that are out there. We have elected officials out there, liberal elected officials, that should be protecting Americans. They should be prosecuting criminals, and they should be keeping us safe. But instead, we consistently have these bad policies, especially in places like California, that send a message that chaos and crime is acceptable. It's not. And I really do believe that Republicans have an opportunity to decide who we are as a party and what our future looks like. The Democrats have chosen what the next generations of their leaders look like, the AOC and squads of the world. And they are anti-police, they are pro-anarchy, and they continue to call for defunding the police and siding with the chaos of criminals all across the country. That needs to stop, and it's absolutely unacceptable what continues to happen with these unnecessary murders and crimes.
Well, and Elizabeth, let's show our viewers now just how much homicides are on the rise in Los Angeles. There were 397 murders in 2021. That's up 53.9% from 2019 and up more than 11% from 2020. You talk about the policies, Elizabeth. If you are elected, what policies will you change? What will you do?
I would just absolutely be for upholding our law and order is critical, and funding our police and making sure that we have safe streets so we can protect our kids, our communities, our families, and that we don't continue to have these crimes so that business can be opened.
Okay, but will the voters in these blue states like California wake up and put in people like you who are going to solve the problems? Because so far, California's had a lot of chance to fix problems, yet they keep voting in Democrats who promise leftist policies like this.
I believe that the Californians and Americans in general are going to come out in absolute full force. People are upset, they're frustrated, they're angry, and rightfully so. The crime rates continue to uptick. It's impacting every facet of our lives, from our children's education to what we just saw in the news that transpired in LA, to how our business are impacted. And I believe that that all Americans will come out in full force for 2022, so that we will have elected officials that come in that are pro law and order.
Elizabeth Hank, we appreciate you getting
If he was 18, I think he's more like 17 or 16. Really young guy. He had a mask on, had a hood on, but I looked in his eyes, that kid, he was a young kid. And he was ready to take my life. Can you believe it? I'm still here. That's right, 100 days from November the 20th till February 28th. My name is Pastor Corey Brooks, and I'm living in this tent right behind me on this rooftop, on this block called O Block. It's named O Block after a young man named O.D. Perry who was shot and killed. The gang picked up his name, and the letter O and started calling it the O Block. We decided we're going to keep the O, but we're going to turn it into Opportunity Block. I'm really thankful tonight to have with me a brother who everybody in Chicago knows, and the world is getting to know him. He's an actor, he's a comedian, he's into entertainment, and his name is Leonard Williams. And we're here tonight to talk about something that happened to him recently. He was carjacked, and for those of you who are not aware, carjacking has been a major thing that we're having to deal with in our city with our young people. So we want to dig into that just a little bit today and talk about what we can do for these kids, how important it is for us to get involved in their lives. And so I'm just going to jump in, and Leonard, thanks, man, for coming tonight. No worries. I know you affectionately, everybody calls you L. Yes, sir. Yes, So sir. thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for being on the air with us to talk about our rooftop regulations. Man, what happened? I heard the story about you being carjacked, and I was like, what? L got carjacked?
Yeah.
So tell us what happened.
We had us a good night. Night started off good. Like a lot of people who have tragic things happen to them. The day starts off good. You never think that it's going to end up the way it ended up. And we were at a private screening for a movie premiere with Deion Cole. Shout out to Deion Cole. Just hanging out with good friends in the entertainment industry. Family. People become family after so long. 20 years in. Leon Rogers, and his wife Nicole. And so hanging out, we left from the movie theater, went to another venue on the south side to hang out with Just Me. She was another up-and-coming, ridiculously talented comedian. And as I'm leaving there, I realize my gas pump is low. My gas hand is low. Mind you, it's late, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm doing everything I know not to do, right? You get gas early. You get gas, you know what I'm saying? Start the day off.
Especially in Chicago.
Especially in Chicago. You know, and in my mind I'm saying, okay, I can make it home on this gas. Couldn't make it home on that gas. So I drive past my usual gas station that I normally go to if I do have to gas a place.
Right.
Drive past that, mistake number 2, go to a gas station. It looks like it's safe right off the expressway. Big truck stop in Gary, Indiana. And I go in to pay for my gas, grab some snacks, come back out, and I notice first, the pump was moving really slow.
Right.
So in my mind, being from Chicago, this is how people get carjacked. Let me go sit in the car, you know, I'm going to sit in the car and wait. As I'm going to get back in the car, I notice that the car at the pump next to me, black tinted out Nissan, newer model, is just sitting there.
Right.
And I say to myself, nah, that's not how that's going to happen. And I really heard God say, yeah, just breathe. 3 words, yeah, just breathe. At which point, the car hits the gas, cuts off any movement I could have had if I would have got in my car, stops in front of my car. The young guy comes out the passenger side with the gun, drawn, straight to my face. But by the time he got out the car, I already had my hands up because remember I heard God say, yeah, that's happening, breathe. So I already had my hands up. He asked me to unlock my phone. So I unlocked the phone, and I dropped my key fob, and I say, it's yours. I turned around and walked off.
You know what? Unlock your phone. What's that about? I mean, why would a brother carjacking a car? I know why, but I want them to understand why unlock your phone.
These kids are well versed in their checklist and what they're doing. They're kids, but they know what they're doing. I'm gonna say this. Some of y'all might be mad, but this is the generation that grew up playing Grand Theft Auto. They're really playing Grand Theft Auto in real life. And so he knew to take my phone so he could turn it off. And that way I couldn't use, I couldn't find it. I couldn't track it. And I couldn't call the police right away. It gave him enough time to get to the expressway, get gone. And it's been off. He hasn't turned it back on.
Now, let me ask you this. How old do you think he was? And the reason why I ask that is because we got a lot of young kids. You know, we had a case where a 10 and an 11-year-old carjacked somebody here recently. And so how old do you think these kids were? And what do you think is going on with all of this?
Man, if he was 18, I think he's more like 17 or 16. Really young guy. He had a mask on, had a hood on. But I looked in his eyes, that kid, he was a young kid. And he was ready to take my life. I saw that in his eyes too. But they have a checklist. They know what they're doing. And, they're going to take your phone. They're going to take your vehicle. They're going to move around. And a lot of the times, back in the 90s, there was a market for vehicles. And they were selling these vehicles, chopping them down, sending the parts overseas. These kids ain't getting no money. They joyriding. Or they doing hits in your vehicle. They take your vehicle and go to somebody else's block.
Y'all, that's just how it is sometimes. We in the hood, so sometimes people give us a shout out. Love y'all too.
Love it, man.
Sorry.
No worries, man. That's a blessing. I'm glad to hear love. I ain't want to pull my gun out. So look. Wait a minute. He said love. All right, cool. Relax. Something like that happens to you, it makes you, it heightens your awareness. Yeah. And I've always moved with a heightened awareness anyway. So that's why I knew what was happening while it was happening. But I was in it at that point.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. And before we close this part, what can we do to help these young brothers, man? Because at the end of the day, it's brothers like me and you, I believe, got to get involved in these young brothers' lives. A lot of them are missing their fathers.
Yeah.
Come from single-parent households. And I'm not making any excuses. I'm just giving the facts. And I think it's important, especially for brothers like ourselves, and you know, you've been an entertainer, a comedian, an actor.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for brothers like you to get back involved in the community. Can you just talk about that for a second?
And I'm gonna tell you something. This is why I don't hold no malice toward these kids, man. They shorties, right? And I'm glad I wasn't caring at the time to, you know, to fire upon them. I don't want to take nobody baby out of here. What we can do, and what a lot of us are doing, because I've been involved in the community for a long time. You know, shout out to Juanita Taylor and Jamal Smalls. I used to work for a foundation called Dive Child, and I taught after school at Team Inglewood before it was Urban Prep. We just got to keep showing love and keep being an example. These kids, they're raising themselves, you know, because the parents that are at home, they're working really hard, and they're not home enough to raise these kids. A lot of these kids growing up with their grandparents who are way too old to deal with all this young energy and to correct certain things. They just let them do what they want to do a lot of times. So, you know, for us as brothers, as men, as black men, just keep showing love and showing them there's a different way. I don't have to look at you as the enemy when I see you in the street. You don't have to look at me as the enemy. We need to do this in love. But correction is necessary. Tell these kids, hey, that ain't how you're supposed to do it.
That's right.
I thank God for all the old heads that cuffed me. I'm talking about from the streets to the pulpit.
Right.
They all pulled me to the side and said, that's not how you're supposed to do it. Let's do this differently.
Absolutely. Man, that's what it's really all about. I want to thank you for coming by tonight and sharing on our rooftop revelations.
Yes, sir.
It's always a blessing to have you come by. I know you're real busy. And, I appreciate it. Listen, that's what it's all about. We got to get into the lives of these young people. We can stop the crime. We don't have to lean on government to do it for us.
Mm-hmm.
We got to take the initiative. We got to do the work. We got to do everything we can to show these kids that we affirm them, we accept them, give them the attention that they need, to pull them out of the lifestyle that they're in and give them an opportunity. That's why we're trying to build this community center. So, as I always say, thank y'all for tuning in to Rooftop Revelations. And until tomorrow, I'll see you then. Peace. I'm going to show you that race is not the biggest problem that we face in the United States of America. Hello, my name is Pastor Corey Brooks, and I'm coming to you from the south side of Chicago, on top of a roof, on a block that's called O Block. The reason why it's called O Block is because it's named after a young man named O.D. Perry, who was shot and killed, who was part of a gang. The gang adopted the O in his name, thus they've been calling it O Block ever since. I'm staying inside this tent for 100 days, on this roof, on this block in the city of Chicago, to bring attention to the violence and the fact that we're building a community center to help transform the lives of people in our community. I'm going to be coming to you throughout the duration of these days, right here on Fox News, to talk to you about the issues, the problems, possible solutions, and what we can do as American citizens to make life better for everyone. I'm going to show you that race is not the biggest problem that we face in the United States of America, and it's definitely not the biggest problem that we face in Chicago. I'm going to be talking to you about the fact that government has simply failed our community on the South Side. There's so many things I'm going to bring to your attention that you may not be aware of. So I want you to take the journey with me with Project Good on this tent for 100 days with Fox News every single day.
They would like us to believe we are back in 1963 when my father came. We can live where we want. We can eat where we want. We own the water fountains. We have had a black president elected not once but twice, and here I am, living proof.
Lieutenant Governor-elect Winsome Sears made history on November 2nd by becoming the first female and the first woman of color to be elected Lieutenant Governor in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is not the first time Winsome Sears broke through a glass ceiling. She's been doing it most of her life, and she joins us now. Lieutenant Governor-elect, welcome. First of all, if I read correctly, your father came to this country with less than $2. Is that possible?
Yes, actually, because this is America, and you can be just about anything that you want to be. He actually came with $1.75, and that was it. And so he took any job he could find, and he put himself through school and started his American dream, and now he's comfortably retired. And so had he not had that education that he sought, he would not be where he is today, and I probably wouldn't be here with you.
Well, I want to talk about some of the places you have been. You served in the military, and you ran a homeless shelter. What did you learn from those two experiences that prepared you for the role you're about to embark on?
Well, I also worked for the Chamber of Commerce, and I did some other things too. I was a VISTA volunteer to help adults learn how to read. And I tell you, you learn that, number one, when you're helping people, if they are not able to understand that this is an opportunity that they're given to better themselves, there's nothing you can do. I had hope for the women that unfortunately they sometimes couldn't see for themselves. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't let them, you can't force them to drink it. And so you just run with the people that you have. And then in the military, I understood, the Marine Corps specifically, that when you have authority, you have to use it and use it well. You don't abuse it. You look out for your people, but you lead by example. And so that's one of the things that I hope to do as the new Lieutenant Governor in Virginia.
Right, you've had different types of service, and I know you have been in public service before, but what drew you, with your vast and varied background, what drew you initially to elected office?
Actually, I never wanted to be the politician. You know, I never wanted to be in elected government. I thought I would be the campaign manager, so I went to campaign manager school. I wanted to be the one who would manage everything, who would run the campaign, who would write the speeches, who would tell the candidate, go here, go there, etc., etc. But the role fell to me. It was my call to lead, and so I accepted it, and I have just run with it, because when you're given the charge to lead, that's what you do. You lead, and you lead by example.
You know, the Republican Party traditionally has not done very well at all with particularly with women of color. So, two-part question. How did the conservative platform win you over? And then how can we do a better job of communicating with constituencies that may not have given the Republican Party a hard look in the past?
I think what we have to do, and I'll just use my own experience, one of the major things that drew me to the Republican Party was when George H.W. Bush was running, and what he said blew my mind, and it was, if all you ever have is welfare, you will never have anything to pass on to your children. And it was after that I thought, oh my God, I'm a Republican. Because I did not know then what Republicans stood for. And I thought, you know, you're black, you're a Democrat, that's what they tell us all the time, and so that's what you do, that's how you vote. So once I came to understand the principles of republicanism, of free enterprise, the ability to love liberty, to be yourself and to take advantage of all the opportunities that America has became a game changer for me. You know, and the fact that I don't need you, a political party, to save me. I just need you, the political party, to get out of my way because this is America. I can really help to save myself. I need a good education, number one, and then I'm off and running. Being a woman, being an immigrant, being black, none of that will hold me back. And you know, because life comes at you hard. And you can say racism, I understand that. But that's just one more thing to overcome. You overcome it, you don't let them keep you down, and you keep going because after all, this is your life. And if you let these things keep you down, then you have nothing, you'll be nothing, and whose fault will that be? Move on. Let the naysayers be the naysayers and move on.
Well, Lieutenant Governor-elect, we are inspired by your background, your biography, your life story, and we are very excited about as you embark, I guess, in a couple of weeks now, on your new job as the Lieutenant Governor for the Commonwealth of Virginia. All the best to you.
Thank you, Trey, and Merry Christmas to all of your guests when it comes.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else. Now, Senator Elizabeth Warren lashing out at the world's richest man, a lot smarter than her, Elon Musk, after he called her, quote, Senator Karen during a Twitter rift over tax policy. It started after Musk was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year, one of the most interesting people in the country right now, in my view, to which far-left Senator Warren tweeted, quote, let's change the rigged tax code so the Person of the Year will actually pay taxes and stop freeloading off everyone else. To which Musk responded, you remind me of when I was a kid and my friend's angry mom would just randomly yell at everyone for no reason. Please don't call the manager on me, Senator Karen. And adding, quote, if you open your eyes for 2 seconds, you would realize that I will pay more taxes than any American in history this year. Checkmate Elon Musk. Now, after that response, Warren, well, couldn't let it go, appearing on MSDNC's Joy Reid show to lash out even more. Take a look.
No. The world's richest freeloader evidently has a very thin skin. They head off into outer space and declare how they did this all on their own when they were subsidized by the federal government and subsidized by every waitress and by every public school teacher who paid their taxes. This is wrong, and Elon Musk needs to eat a big dish of that.
Now, response, Musk wrote, lack of Joy Reid, lack of Joy Reid, is a lobbyist for Senator Karen. All right, here with reaction. Author of now a New York Times bestseller for such a time as this. Outnumbered co-host Kayleigh McEnany, along with Outkick founder Clay Travis. I find this interesting. You know, I watched the series The Men That Built America. It's about, you know, the Fords, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, etc. And all of them very interesting. And I kind of look at Elon Musk, Kayleigh, as a modern-day version of that. And I would think that someone like Elizabeth Warren, a new Green Deal climate cultist, would like the fact that he's thinking out of the box, getting new technology. I'm fascinated by what he does and want to see him be successful.
Yeah, all paid by you.
No doubt.
All paid by you.
Elon Musk is an American success story.
His biggest contractor, billions of dollars a year he makes off the American people.
In student loans, worked 2 jobs to try and pay it off, and now is a billionaire and paying more taxes, as he noted, than anyone in history. In this year alone, he noted. So, look, I think when you look at wokeism, which is a very powerful drug, this is a man who said, I'm not going to be a billionaire elite. I'm not going to just say what is woke, say what is liberal, say what is expected of me. I'm going to just be me. And he's doing just that, cutting through the noise, holding a powerful senator accountable. He's done the same with Bernie Sanders. I am so impressed by
him. And Sean, when you say he's one of
Oh
the most
my
interesting
God.
people in America, I couldn't agree more. Elon Musk pretty much deserves that title at this point.
You know, I mean, he's a fascinating guy, Clay. I watch it what he does. I'm amazed by it. Right now, the lifeblood of the world's economy is oil, gas, and coal. If there's new, cheaper energy technology that comes along and he helps develop it,
I'll come back to all these
power to him.
videos when I get into the
He's
next part of the
advancing
series.
human condition. He's gone
I don't want to get into
already.
them right now.
I'm very
But what a
interested to
bunch
see
of
what he does
bullshit.
next.
Look, Sean, if he's a freeloader, we need a lot more freeloaders, because here's what he's done. First of all, he immigrated from South Africa, as Kaylee said, came to school here, made initially money with pay.
Elon Musk, oh my God.
You know, every other day it's 7, 8 homicides just right here from a 1 or 2 block radius. And everybody really just fooled. They fooled about it. The truth is this. We fought, we got through it, people died, we lost lives. But at the same time, we have to come to a common ground and say enough is enough. Wow, out of all the days that I've been on the roof, I must say I am really, really excited today to talk with you about some rooftop revelations. I am Corey Brooks, and I'm still here on this rooftop, living in this tent for 100 days, from November the 20th to February 28th, bringing about awareness to gun violence in Chicago, but most of all, to build a center on the south side of Chicago on a block that we call O Block, named after a young man who was shot and killed named O.D. Perry. We took the O and we want to keep it. We're just going to flip it and make it into opportunity block. I'm excited today because I have 2 of the guys who were notorious in our neighborhood for gang banging, drugs, all the kind of stuff that we've been trying to change. And I'm glad because they're not only here today, but they're reformed, they've changed their lives, and they both work for our organization, Project Hood. Can you believe that? So I want to introduce to all of my Fox family and all of those who are watching and listening, I want to introduce to you Dale, that we call him Big Dale. You can see, he getting smaller now though. He was bigger, he was a lot bigger. This is Big Dale, this is Twin, and his real name is Barney. And these guys, if you can believe it, were arch enemies. They were on 2 different sides. He was a GD, gangster disciple. He was a BD, a black disciple. And they all both lived in the same neighborhood, but it was conflict. So I'm going to let them tell the story, and we're going to talk about how the conflict has been resolved, how lives have been changed, and years later now, they're doing something to change our neighborhood. So, welcome, guys. Absolutely. So, Dale, I'm going to start with you. Take us back a little bit to where you all used to feud and how that came about. What did you all used to be doing in the neighborhood? Besides tearing up everything.
Well, you know, we tore the neighborhood up. Seriously tore it up. It was a different demographic, a different day. We mainly fought about money. We mainly fought about real estate. You know, killing and fighting was different back then because it was a purpose to us. We looked at things different. Like now, so many kids died from minute problems. Me and Twin, we can see each other on any given day. And if he in the wrong spot or in the wrong place, we're gonna get to it right then to drop the hand. So it was kind of like knocked off. They was where they was at, we was where we was at. But if we we ever bumped up, it was serious business. Real serious business. And the thing that, back then there wasn't no social media. So a lot of things didn't get,
Publicized.
publicized as it do these days. But, Twin, we weren't that cool back then.
Twin, let me hear what you got to say. I hear Dale talk about how y'all weren't that cool back then, but take us back from your perspective, how it used to be in the neighborhood, and also how far away from y'all, how many blocks? Because I don't think people really understand how close these blocks are that are in conflict.
Oh, well, it was 1 block radius. I mean,
One block.
1 block. We was on Calumet. It was on Prairie. We was on 61st, and Calumet was on 61st and Prairie. But, I mean, you gotta understand, back in our days, even though we had conflict, we had violence taking place, we had structure. Let's not skip that part. We had structure, meaning, let's not take away from Dale. He was the good. Good meaning he was a big boss. He called it for the neighborhood. So everything that take place, it had to go through his accord. It had to come off his account. If he said it happened, it happened. You see what I'm saying? And it was the same thing on my end, vice versa. I had the spot, the minister spot, the co-minister spot, or chief of the security. When we was out game banging, we were game banging. But let's talk about the part that we really want people to understand. When we said that was peace, you wasn't breaking that peace treaty.
That's over.
You see what I'm saying? See, this is the part that I really want y'all to understand. When we said that was peace, you couldn't break that peace treaty. If you broke that peace treaty, it was my end or his end, you was going to the hospital. Because that's what's the structure back then. You see what I'm saying? So that was the most important part of us having this conversation right now starting off. And I want people to understand there's no unity, there's no structure. And we wasn't considered as game bangers either. You know what I'm saying? We call ourselves businessmen because we was about business. We was about making some money at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? But despite all the money we made, all the violence that we participate in, it still boils down to the number one thing. We messed up our community with the activities that we brought to our community. I want y'all to understand that much.
And let me just say this. And you both didn't know what I was going to talk about, and I wanted to bring up something because when you go down a certain track, a certain lifestyle, you end up bringing your kids into that lifestyle sometimes.
That's it.
I know it was never intended, and I know it even hurts for us to even talk about it. Not, but I want to talk about it because I need people to understand. And I know y'all, so y'all, I love y'all love me, so I don't have to pull punches. But your son was shot, and he's in a wheelchair, paralyzed.
My son was shot.
Your namesake too.
Yeah.
Little Barn.
My firstborn was shot. Somebody pulled up on him. He was in a car, shot at him 30 times. And he got hit 1 time in the back and it paralyzed him. So he's paralyzed from the chest down. He's been paralyzed for 5 years now. And when that situation took place, I was just coming home from jail. Due to the fact that I knew my son was out in the streets doing street activities. The city thought maybe that it was going to be an uproar, but I took to social media, something I really don't do. But I wanted the world to know and understand that there would not be a retaliation despite what happened to my son, because at the end of the day, I know he's in the street. I know he has caused harm on somebody else's child, so there won't be no retaliation. And I just thank God that my son, that perished from this incident, even though he's paralyzed. But I had to sit him down and help him understand it's a time out for a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Because we're losing a lot of kids' lives in the process of this situation.
Absolutely. And then, twin son was shot. Even though he was paralyzed, he lived. And he still got a chance to give his son to resolve a lot of conflicts and issues. And they got a great relationship. And, but in your situation, just recently, your son was shot.
I love my son.
And didn't make it.
But it's like even the twin son, and it's so fresh with me with my son. But I'm glad we get a chance to shine the light on it, because a lot of these other kids need to know and really understand. In spite of whatever we do or wherever we go, I can call twin son right now. When he answers the phone or I FaceTime him to see me, what's up, huh? And the same thing with my son.
Exactly.
So the thing is with these kids and what they don't understand is like they fight a lot. And that's what we had to grow up and understand. And it's like so long, like 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, why I changed my life. Because I started seeing my kids grow older. And I started seeing them picking up my habits. So I had to change my life. I came to the church. Pastor gave me a chance. We reformed and we switched it. That's the reason why I'm here with Twin now and with Pastor. And we fight so hard for the community center or things like that we need because these kids don't have a chance or they don't have a right target. They got an aim. But their aim is going back to them and killing each other. Their aim is not, okay, well, we gonna get up and we'll go to the community center and they might have these jobs for us. Or they might have the studio for it. Or they might have this, they don't have the same privileges as a kid maybe 100 miles away. So it's important.
Even 20 miles.
Right, yeah, exactly. Even 20 miles. Up north is starting to be terrible. So it's even more of a fight, an uphill battle and a problem because what we fighting, we really got our back against the wall. You know, every other day it's 7, 8 homicides just right here from a 1 or 2 block radius. And everybody really just fooled. They fooled about it. The truth is this. We fought, we got through it, people died, we lost lives. But at the same time, we have to come to a common ground and say enough is enough. How we wouldn't want a community center? It's well deserved if we want our kids to live. So why wouldn't it be supported? Why wouldn't we support it?
Because then you gotta so understand, like us growing up, we was misled also as kids. We didn't have a pastor in the neighborhood 7 days a week, 24 hours on call like you. You know what I'm saying? We was raised up with a gun in the pack. You know what I'm saying? And I'm older guys, they misled us. One of our older heads, he worked for the church. You know what I'm saying? And he's still my old head and I respect him to this day. But if I know what I know now, I would take a different route in life. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? I want to say something about what you just said. You know what you know right now. So what are you doing right now with the knowledge that you have? Like, what type of work are you doing and what is that all about?
Well, I mean, right now, you know, thanks to you, you gave me a chance, although I doesn't speak for it, but you gave me a chance to come to the community. I work for Project Hood, Fire Prevention Team, as well as my brother Dale here. We on the line every day, 7 days a week. You know, calls come out saying shots fired. Anytime those calls come out, me and the rest of my team, we up. It don't matter if it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We racing to get to these locations, try to see what's going on. How can we be a help to the family? How can we protect the next situation to take place? This is a 7-day, 24-hour job that we right now took upon ourselves just to be able to get back to our community. You know what I'm saying? And it's a risky job, but at the end of the day, me and Dale, we made the decision to say, listen, we need to put our life on the line and try to get back and save some of these kids' lives from the things that's taking place in these neighborhoods every day.
I'm gonna say this. But a lot of people sit back and speculate. And you watch the news, you watch the problems, you watch the violence. And it really don't affect you till it hit your front line or hit your front door. And that's the thing that we need to stop sitting around waiting on. We need to stop sitting around waiting on, as fast as say, a Superman or a super giant to come in and save us. Us gotta save us.
Save myself.
It gotta start as a head, as a home. So if you know your child needs help, or you know your child needs attention, as far as him being a serial shooter or a problem, and come to Project Hood. Come to the Violence Impact Team. Come to Pastor. Come sit on this roof. It's open arms. So we can get together right now and stop the violence head on. We can't keep waiting on nobody. That's why he on this roof 100 days. It's something else. To sit on this roof in a cold, you ain't eating right, you ain't bathing, you ain't doing this. It's a sacrifice. Yeah. So when is everybody else as a whole gonna sacrifice? Even with donating $1, $4, 50 cents, whatever it is.
Every penny counts.
Let's help build this community center to give our kids a different change and a different outlook, a different target. The target shouldn't be the next human being. The target should be the change. That's what I'm here for.
There you go, body imagery right there in that
I
one.
changed my life to change, not just to save my kids. Because I got a lot of kids that's like Pastor that's not my kid, or like Trent is not my kid, or any other people that's with the VIP team. You know, I'm grieving right now. My son been gone almost 40 days, but I'm still gonna do the work because this way he will walk. You know, you do the history on my child. I don't have bad kids. My kids ain't shot nobody, ain't killed nobody. But it's the way of the world.
Guilty by association.
So we got to change it. If we don't do nothing to change it, it's not never gonna happen. And it's not no walk in the park. This ain't no walk in the park. But if somebody get a time up 100 days, imagine that. We have to start looking at situations and put ourselves in the next man's shoes or the next woman's shoes. We got to change.
I think that's the perfect way to end the show. The rooftop revelations here on the South